Hello, my name is Anjani, and welcome to the Alchemy of Intimacy. This is the bonus week 14 titled Embodiment of Forgiveness. So in writing this book, I thought about putting this in the very beginning, having this be a prerequisite to doing the Alchemy of Intimacy. But instead of doing that, I put the prerequisite being getting intimate with your relationship with time. And what I have found is that, first of all, in Sanskrit, the word kala means time. And in shamanic, Hawaiian shamanism, the word kala is no limitations or freedom. It has to do with freedom. So for this work of embodying forgiveness, those concepts, the word kala comes up a lot in my mind, having to do with becoming free of your concept of time. And whenever you really feel freedom from the concept of time, this man-made structure that we live within, the calendar and the days being shortened and the times being changed back and forth, getting free from that larger construct really helps in forgiveness. So let me read here. It says, time doesn't go in one direction, especially in relationship to emotions, thoughts, and memories. Meaning that when you feel something or you have a memory come up, usually when the memory comes up, there is a visceral response. And they go back and forth. You know, sometimes that feeling will happen in the gut or in the chest or even in the legs, in the pelvis, and we have a thought about it. Memory comes up. These dance back and forth. When all of these things happen, time doesn't exist. It can be like the thing, the trigger can bring you back to the traumatic experience or a memory that something your mother said, or it can bring you back instantly. And in that moment, time doesn't exist. Memories of a horrible life event continue to cause horrible body reactions, pattern thinking, same actions, same choices, and suffering. This is my view of karma, a habituated pattern in our mental process that shapes our predominant psychic and physical structure. We feel imprisoned by it. When you can change your perception of a life event, the energy surrounding the life event opens up and changes the perspective of the past. So right here, when something happened and we've kept it alive through telling the story over and over, there's some trauma. We all have something traumatic that happened. And in retelling the story, we get the same visceral reaction, and we believe this story that we have about the event, which keeps that pattern happening and the pattern thinking. So an example, this thing happened to me when I was a kid in relationship with men. There was some abuse. And now every time I feel triggered or pushed by a male, suddenly the story comes up. Men are like this, I have this thing, and the wall goes, and just happens naturally without me even being consciously aware of it. So getting down to, okay, well, what is this story that I'm telling? What actually happened? And could I imagine that there could be other storylines other than the one that I keep retelling myself? Okay, this gives more, so where we left off, imprisoned by it. When you can change the perception of that life event, the energy surrounding the event opens up and changes your perspective of the past. So right here, insert forgiveness. And it's not to say, okay, I forgive that man for the way that he acted and forgive myself for the way I responded and the way that I've told this story over and over. There is really forgiving the pattern, forgiving myself for keeping the pattern and believing my story. Let me just continue here. This gives you more space and freedom to make choices that are congruent with the version of reality that you desire today. So today, I don't want to hold that pattern thinking about men are like this certain thing. True story, this is something that I've been studying for a long time. Relationships, relationship to food, relationship to time, relationship to friends, family, lovers. Everything in life is relationship. Whatever happened in the past can get solid in the psyche, in the physical body, can create sometimes a physical bunch of material, like a knot. It oftentimes creates what in Tantra they call a granthi, which is a psychic knot. And it's like when you're walking on the beach and you make a print in the sand with your feet, and now the water washes over in a new pattern, because this footprint being the thing that happened, it leaves an imprint, and when the water washes over, it takes a new pattern. And it is for us to work with that pattern. And I really like this saying that we are not responsible for how anything else happens. Like the thing happened, we're not necessarily responsible for the thing happening. Although if you're walking on the beach, you kind of are responsible for your foot printing in the sand. It's a relationship between your foot and the sand. So we can't take full responsibility, but there is some level of us being responsible for that. But we are fully responsible for the way that we're going to work with the energy of that imprint, the way we're going to move and change and flow with life. So if I have this new version of reality that I want to, way that I want to relate, in the analogy I'm giving earlier about this thing happened with a man, and now I have this habituated patterned way of thinking, and I want to stop that, because the thing that I want now is to have healthy relationships with men. So it's not congruent. My pattern and the imprint in my mind and in my physical body and in my psyche isn't congruent with the way that I want to interact with men. Okay, so the quote here by one of my Tantra teachers, Chris Wallace: if you want to change your karma, stop being the person who created the karma. So again, this isn't saying that it's all your fault for stepping in the sand. It's not about fault, it's about responsibility. So you were there, this is part of your path, was to walk on the beach, created this imprint. Now, if you want to be a new person, you want to have new experiences, we need to stop walking on the beach if you don't want to have if you don't want to leave footprints. This is just a kind of silly analogy. But if you want to be a new person, we need to start doing new things. Okay, many people believe that the past shapes the future. So in that analogy, the past, meaning something that happened, is now shaping my future, the way that I will unconsciously or maybe consciously relate with men in the analogy given. What if the future shapes the past? Just a fun little thing to think about. New analogy here. If I grew up poor and that poorness shaped my future of financial life, I would be following a linear model of time. Many people do this. I grew up poor, these things happen. I just talked to somebody on the phone who was my boyfriend in high school, and he went off and joined the Air Force, and I have a warm place in my heart for him. And when I talked to him, he kept repeating this about his childhood over and over. And I just noticed and listened, and I'm like, yeah, this is a common thing that people think, well, this is my childhood, therefore this is my life now. This is where I came from, so this is where I can go. Okay, so to follow a non-linear model of time, I start from right now. Instead of starting from the past, I'm starting from now, or I can start from my imagined place, saying, I want to have financial freedom. So that's my new starting place. And now I'm going to start acting like that. I'm not going to act from the place of my past. I'm starting to act from over there, which is what I'm going for, financial freedom. So now we're not following a non-linear model of time. We're following a non-linear model of time because we're starting over there instead of starting from past, present, future. We're going future to now. And the past will change because now, once I have a client that I work with who tells this story that I love so much. I came to San Diego with $250 in a station wagon and a couple of kids and a wife. And now he has financial freedom and he can do anything he wants. And so in telling his story, it's like he started, retelling. And now when he connects to the past, that was a catalyst for him getting over here. It wasn't a cause. His past wasn't a cause. I hope this is making sense. Okay, to follow a non-linear model of time, I start with today. Or you start with what, the future might be. You start with an imagined place because you can do that. We have a power in astrology. That's our Neptune, our inner Neptune has that ability to create from imagination. Okay, I start taking conscious actions from that mindset. My perception of the past financial situation can be a catalyst rather than something I am helpless to change. The problem is we are stuck in belief systems and self-imposed limitations from our concept of time. This thing happened to me, therefore I am now here. This was my childhood, therefore I believe this. This was what happened to me in the past, and that's why I have an eating disorder. This thing happened to me in the past, and that's why now I have debilitating anxiety or depression. Forgiveness. This topic has always perplexed me. If there is something to forgive, there would have had to be something that went wrong within this grand cycle, this cosmic perspective. If I need to forgive something, that means that there was an imperfection in the grand cosmic cycle of life. Deep down, I know that there is a cosmic order to all things, even trauma, and nothing really goes wrong. But we are attached to ideas of the way we think things are supposed to go. When things go in directions we didn't want or we don't like, we can feel hurt and disappointed. I have this quote here by one of my clients who said, "Well, who appointed you? Who appointed you? If you're disappointed, you must have been appointed." So, it just leaves this funny lingering thing in my mind like, well, I'm going to step down from that. I don't have to be appointed to have things be this certain way. True forgiveness can happen when you accept that you are never going to unsee, unknow, or unexperience an event or situation from the past. Half the battle with forgiveness is the internal struggle to go back to how things used to be. They will never be like that again. When you found out Santa Claus was not what you believed him to be, you were unable to see Christmas the same. In your infinite wisdom, you found new ways to enjoy the holiday. So I really like that analogy because in this new wisdom that we have about our relationship with time, the way things go, the way we think things should go, our attachments that we have to ideas about what we think, once we're able to see and feel in our physical body how all this is going down, we soften. And I feel in my experience that I've softened and been able to accept things the way that they were and see them in new ways and now create new patterns for myself in my life. With every life experience, you are changed in some way, and that is not a bad thing. We are given the opportunity to test our belief systems and ask the ultimate human questions. Who am I? What is my purpose? What is this situation showing me? Here are some questions you can start working with for forgiveness and changing the past, present, future. So get into a sort of meditative state. Start by getting grounded. Close your eyes. Take a moment to feel your breath as it enters in through your nostrils and expands your rib cage. Pull all of your energy in towards your center line. Imagine your feet rooting down into the earth and your head connecting to the sky. Run energy through your body from earth and sky. Circulate that through your heart, open to receive. Think of one past event that causes you distress. Start with something easy until you get the hang of this practice. Bring the event to life by remembering and writing down details of key moments. Look at this event like a melodrama. Who are the main characters and what are their roles in the play? What is your part in the play? What led you to being in this play? What are you getting from holding your memory of this play? Allow yourself to fully feel whatever comes up. Don't try to distract yourself. Notice where and how the energy moves in your body. Write down whatever you notice. Here's some possible changes you can make to your perspective. Start with loosening the grip of my version of reality. Can I really know what the characters in my play were experiencing in their personal play? Using empathy, write out a few possibilities for what they may have been trying to achieve for themselves by taking the starring role in your play. What gifts, lessons, awards did I receive from acting in this play? Can I accept that things unfolded in the way that they did? This week, this is the exercise for this week. Take actions as if the changes are alive for you. It might seem like you are imagining, but you are imagining this whole thing anyway, so why not imagine it in another way? So I left out this last thing. I guess it needs to be here. Would I change the way things unfolded? If yes, list out what would I have changed? How would those changes affect my life today? So those are the last parts of this exercise. Can I accept that things unfolded the way they did? Would I change the way things unfolded? If yes, what would I change? How would those changes affect my life today? So the exercise is take action as if those changes are alive for you. If you would have wanted them to be showing up in a different way, just see, if this hadn't have happened, I would have a better relationship with men. I wouldn't think unconsciously that men are bad, evil, trying to hurt me, and whatever else the thing is. So for this week, you're going to act as if those changes are in place and take action from that new sense of self. And it says it might seem like you are imagining it, but you're imagining the whole thing anyway. So why not imagine it in a new way? Even though you tie 100 knots, the string remains one. It's a poem by Rumi. Every time I imagine this as a string, I tie a knot. Each time I'm sort of deciding something, making a structure. And it's, a knot is in our body. We have these physical knots and we have psychic knots. And even though we have all these knots, it's still one string. So anyway, Rumi you could take that with a glass of wine and go really deep into that. This process is a lot like unraveling a knotted string. Each time you release tension in the knot, you are closer to unbound freedom. If you just look at the knot and say, I forgive you for being a knot, without taking action, the knot remains. That is fine if you don't want to use your string. If you do want to use the string, talking about or rationalizing forgiveness just won't do. Take an action toward experiencing a felt sense of forgiveness. The steps in this article are a great start, meaning that this is not the end of your experience and your journey with forgiveness. The only thing keeping you in your chosen version of reality is your belief in it. So we have a lot more power than we let ourselves believe we have. I recommend going back to the beginning of this workbook and doing the process of getting intimate with your concept of time. The relationship with time and the embodiment of forgiveness go hand in hand. So revisiting that beginning portion of the book, I highly recommend doing that. Thank you so much. And if you have questions, please feel free to email me, ask any questions. Forgiveness is a huge topic. It's super important and vital for health, and it's a journey. It's not just something that instantly happens because you say it does. Although maybe you're that person who can snap and just say it's done and I forgive. What does forgiveness mean though? Like, what does it mean that you push it away, you reject it, you avoid it, you send it into an imaginary box? Like, what needs to happen so that your physical body, your inner child, your psyche, your sensitivities, that everything about you is on board with that forgiveness. So thank you so much. I look forward to connecting with you soon.